Just off the coast of Guam, the ocean floor splits open into the deepest scar on Earth, the Mariana Trench. From the surface, it looks like your classic tropical blue water. Sunlight, reefs, turtles, sharks, dolphins. But below them, there are multiple different worlds. The 11-kilometer descent into the pressurized, cold darkness creates creatures so strange, they feel like they evolved on another planet. So today, we're going on a vertical safari from the sunlit surface to the deepest point on Earth, layer by layer, to see how life changes when animals adapt to life at the deepest point of the ocean. This is the wildlife of the Mariana Trench.
What happens if you remove any sunlight, add crushing pressure, and just keep going for 11 kilometers? It's a place on Earth that humans have visited less times than we've walked on the moon. It's the deep ocean.
Just off the coast of Guam in the Western Pacific lies the deepest place on Earth, the Mariana Trench. A place so deep that if you dropped Mount Everest into it, the summit would still be more than a kilometer underwater.
That's a little unnecessary. The ocean's deep enough, we can, protect Mount Everest's ego a little bit.
But as you dive in, the ocean doesn't just get deeper, it gets weirder. Layer by layer, the rules of life start to change. We're talking animals with transparent heads, detachable jaws, and teeth too big for their bodies.
So today we're sinking from the surface to see what goes on at Earth's deepest point.
At the surface above Mariana's Trench, things feel familiar. We're basking in the Sunlight Zone. It goes down for roughly 200 meters. As the name would suggest, sunlight floods the water, allowing for photosynthesis to occur. This zone hosts most marine life, including dolphins, sharks, and algae. We're near Guam in the Western Pacific. To the west, the Philippines. To the east, nothing but thousands of kilometers of open ocean all the way to Hawaii. Coral reefs like these, built on ancient volcanic rock, bustle with crowded ecosystems where thousands of species compete for food and territory. The first animal we encounter on our Mariana safari is the green sea turtle, drifting calmly along, unbothered by the 11 kilometers of inconceivable depths below. Nearby, black-tip reef sharks slice through schools of fish. And near the coast of Guam, spinner dolphins launch themselves into the air like spinning torpedoes, while a hungry orca watches from below. A massive ocean sunfish, basically the pancake of the sea, floats near the surface while seabirds pick parasites off its skin. And not too far from there, a whale shark cruises with its mouth wide open, filtering thousands of liters of water for plankton. And trailing through it all, the lion's mane jellyfish drifts like a living minefield. Its tentacles are longer than a school bus and armed with stinging cells. But if you don't want to travel this far or dive this deep to see the ocean, Mel Science, the sponsor of today's episode, can bring the ocean to you. Mel Science sends you experiments like this chemical sea kit that lets you build your own mini ocean.
Check out this chemical seaweed. It's kind of gross. I love it.
And all you gotta do is put these metal salts into this solution and you get these amazing branching formations. So cool! And if you want to see animals, you can combine this salt solution and ionic compounds to make floating jellies.
These are so cool. They look just like lion mane.
But if what you want is just good old classic mind-blowing chemical experiments, check out this liquid glass experiment. It looks like a regular liquid at first, and then
it's solidified.
That's almost as cool as aged stone wave. You can see the reactions happen one by one. Super cool. And this is just one of their kits. They have over 100 kits for you to check out. All you gotta do is tell them your favorite subjects in STEM, and they'll send you a monthly kit you're going to love. All the kits are built with high-quality materials and include step-by-step instructions for kids and any science-loving person to do the experiments safely and in the most fun way possible.
Scan the QR code or go to melscience.com/SDGC and use code Animalogic to unlock a full year of science for just $22.45 a month. This offer is valid for 1 week only, so don't wait too long to get your discount. Thanks, Mel Science!
Light powers everything here. Photosynthetic plankton form the base of the food web. They use sunlight to turn carbon dioxide into chemical energy, supporting almost every other organism in the upper ocean. But once you leave that light behind, you lose your main energy source. And from that point on, survival gets creative. At 200 meters below the surface, only about 1% of sunlight remains. Enough for a dim blue glow, but not enough for plants to survive. This is the Twilight Zone, and it's the point where color starts to disappear. The first one to go is red. This is why so many animals here are actually bright red, like dragonfish and deep-sea shrimp. Red light has the longest wavelengths and is absorbed before it can reach these depths. So down here, red looks black. It's camouflage. Some animals take that invisibility even further. The stoplight loosejaw is nearly invisible, but it can produce red bioluminescence, a flashlight that only it can see. Most deep-sea organisms can only see blue or green light, so this red light allows the loosejaw to illuminate prey, such as crustaceans, without warning them or attracting larger predators. Deep-sea dragonfish do this too. They have red light searchlights from organs behind its eyes, like the coolest pair of night fishing goggles no one else can see.
Twilight taxa are just built different, you know?
Bioluminescence is everywhere here. Lanternfish glow along their bellies to erase their silhouette, a technique called counter-illumination.
They're basically deleting their own shadow. It's a power move.
Female anglerfish dangle glowing lures like fishing rods. This is a modified dorsal fin spine that extends over her mouth. At the tip is a fleshy growth filled with millions of bioluminescent bacteria that glow in the dark. Viperfish wave a long dorsal fin ray with a light organ on its tip. And dragonfish have a barbell under their chin that does the same thing. The technique is all the same. Attract curious animals close enough to become an easy meal. The deep-sea version of, come look at this shiny, sparkly thingamabob I have for you. Look at that. Isn't that nice?
If a crustacean follows the light, it dies.
In a classic Uno reverse, animals like the vampire squid use bioluminescence to escape. Despite its name, it is neither a squid nor a true octopus. When threatened, it doesn't shoot ink. Instead, it flips its webbed arms inside out, revealing fleshy, finger-like projections called cirri, and releases a cloud of glowing, sticky mucus. This confuses predators and makes the predators themselves visible to larger predators.
This is the deep-sea equivalent of saying, look over there, and then throwing a glitter bomb into the deep abyss. I would also like to take a moment to appreciate the fact that the vampire squid lives in the Twilight Zone.
Some of the strangest creatures here aren't even single animals. Siphonophores are colonies of clones, each part specialized but working as one. Each unit is genetically identical but performs a completely different job, like feeding, reproducing, or hunting. Together, they form glowing chains that can stretch longer than a blue whale. You can get the full down low on these superorganisms here. But the real backbone of this ecosystem aren't the flashing lights, creepy clones, and toothy predators. They're tiny drifting organisms called zooplankton, especially copepods. There are so many of these small crustaceans that they may be the most abundant animals on Earth. Tens of thousands of them can be found in just a single bucket of seawater. As popping as the Twilight Zone seems, every night, billions of creatures have to rise towards the surface to feed. This vertical migration from the Twilight Zone is the largest movement of biomass on Earth.
This daily movement is pretty important for the ocean's ecosystem. It acts like a big carbon pump, pumping carbon from the atmosphere down into the deep ocean, mitigating climate change.
The Twilight Zone is just a sliver of the expanse below. As we sink down 1,000 meters, sunlight effectively disappears. The influence of the surface fades, and the ocean becomes cold, dark, and amazingly stable. This is the midnight zone. And unless you have an inbuilt flashlight, the ocean becomes permanently dark from this point on.
I mean, not that you'd notice, because if you'd made it this far without a pressurized vessel, all of your air-filled cavities, like your lungs and your sinuses, would violently collapse. You'd implode.
Down here, food is scarce, and encounters are rare. Not a single ray of light makes it this far. The water sits just above freezing, so animals are built for efficiency or patience. In areas of the valley with seafloor in the midnight zone, the tripod fish stands on long, spindly fins like stilts facing into the current. It barely moves, waiting patiently for food to drift straight into its grasp. A pelican gulper eel drifts through the dark with a mouth large enough to swallow prey bigger than itself, which is a gamble on a meal that might come once in a lifetime. Side note, no human being has witnessed eels mating or have directly found their eggs in the wild. So we know what they eat, how they hunt, where they live, but how they get it on? A mystery as eerie as the Twilight Zone. Deep-sea anglerfish down here rely almost entirely on their glowing lure to hunt. Their bodies are soft, energy efficient, built to survive long stretches without food.
And dating down here, like anywhere, is complicated.
Male anglerfish are tiny and parasitic. Encounters with mates are extremely unlikely, so when they find a female, they latch on. Permanently. Their bodies fuse. The males lose most of their organs. Eventually, they become little more than a source of sperm.
Now, I would suggest finding someone to talk to about this unhealthy codependency, but I imagine that in the deep sea, it's probably harder to find a therapist than a girlfriend.
Not everything hunts here. Here, the vampire squid extends its long filaments into the water and waits for marine snow, which are tiny flakes of dead plankton, fecal matter, and organic debris drifting down from above.
To be a floating piece of ocean dandruff. Not a care in the world. All other animals can do is look up, literally.
In the midnight zone, some fish evolve tubular, upward-facing eyes, tuned to detect the faintest silhouettes breaking the darkness above them. They're not looking for light itself, but the contrast, the dark shape of prey or predators moving against the barely brighter water coming from higher up. Just like the barrel eye fish, whose upward-aimed eyes are embedded inside a transparent head. This lets them effectively scan overhead while protecting their vision from flashes of bioluminescence.
That's called looking on the bright side.
Up in the Twilight Zone, the Pacific hatchetfish survived by using bioluminescence to match the light from above and erase its outline. But in the Midnight Zone, that strategy starts to fall apart. And sometimes, crushing pressure can be the best beauty routine. The blobfish has a reputation for looking like a melted face, but that's only at the surface. Down here, it looks like a normal fish. It's only when we bring it up that its body collapses into that infamous blob. Now we've dove 4 kilometers under the surface in an eerie realm called the Abyss. Here, a vast, cold sea floor stretches across a desert of silty plains. Temperatures hover near freezing. Pressure is immense, like 50 jumbo jets pressing down on your body immense. The few animals here are mud dwellers. Food arrives slowly in the form of whatever sinks.
So that means that everything down here lives on leftovers. It's not an easy life, but hey, life finds a way.
Sea cucumbers, also called sea pigs, dominate the seafloor. They crawl along using tube feet, vacuuming up sediment and extracting whatever nutrients they can.
That's a smart way of saying they eat dirt.
Glass sponges build their skeletons from silica, so basically glass. They form intricate, fragile structures that look like they belong in a museum. Some can live for thousands of years, quietly filtering water in the dark. Acorn worms leave winding trails across the seafloor. They use gill-like structures that filter nutrients right out of the mud. They can grow up to 2.5 meters long and can regenerate significant parts of their bodies when injured. You might see a Dumbo octopus slowly drift past using its ear-like fins to hover. They have evolved a slow-mo lifestyle to survive this extreme pressure and darkness, securing its title as the deepest living octopus known to science. You might also see a feather star drifting through the darkness and spreading its delicate, branching arms like a living net, catching particles as they fall. It looks like a plant, but it can crawl across the sea floor when it needs to.
So, under 6,000 meters, we enter the Hadal Zone, named after the Greek mythology underworld. And for good reason.
The seafloor here drops into massive trenches formed at subduction zones, where one tectonic plate slides beneath another. It's a dynamic, shifting landscape where the Earth is constantly in motion. Earthquakes are frequent in and around the trench. This is the deepest, most extreme environment on Earth. Pressure here can be 1,000 times what we feel at the surface. You'll meet the deepest living fish on Earth here, the Mariana snailfish. Soft, gelatinous, cartilage instead of bone, not built to resist pressure, but to exist within it. Its cells are packed with molecules like TMAO, which stabilize proteins under extreme pressure and prevent the cells from being crushed. They are top predators in the Hadal Zone, possibly even the absolute lowest point of the ocean, known as the Challenger Deep.
At this pressure, even biology starts to break down. Proteins lose their shape and cell membranes destabilize. Life doesn't just have to adapt physically, it has to adapt chemically.
You would think there would be a limit to how deep fish can go, but beyond a certain point, pressure interferes with the chemistry needed for complex life. That's why the lowest parts are inhabited by mostly microbes and simple invertebrates. And plastic bags. Even at nearly 11,000 meters down in the Challenger Deep, a place once thought untouched by human influence, plastic bags have been found resting on the seafloor.
These conditions support chemosynthetic bacteria that don't rely on sunlight. Instead, they use chemicals like hydrogen sulfide or methane to produce energy.
Hierondelia gigas, tiny amphipods, scavenge the seafloor. They reinforce their bodies with aluminum extracted from sediment, helping prevent their shells from dissolving under pressure. While more rare than above, sea cucumbers and Dumbo octopuses still drift across the sediment. Overall diversity and density of life drops as we descend into these narrow trenches. You can also see giant amphipods like Alicella gigantea roaming the trench, sometimes growing larger than their shallow water relatives. This is a phenomenon called deep sea gigantism, the tendency for deep sea species to grow significantly larger than their shallow water relatives. Metabolism slows down, lifespans stretch out, and these creatures have all the time in the world to grow into giants. We'll still see xenophyophores on the seafloor of the Mariana Trench. These are giant single-celled organisms. So, just one cell, but many nuclei. They're not animals, plants, or fungi, but are a type of amoeba that can grow up to 20 centimeters or more in diameter. Within this vast, shifting Mariana Trench, the seafloor drops even further into a final, hidden scar, the Challenger Deep.
A valley within a valley, the absolute deepest point on planet Earth.
Against all odds, at nearly 11,000 meters below the surface, a sparse but specialized ecosystem still persists. Amphipods, Hadal sea cucumbers, sediment-dwelling worms, and pressure-adapted microbes on the sea floor. A lot is still to be discovered about this hidden world. For a long time, we thought nothing could live at these depths. That changed in 1960 when the bathyscaphe Trieste descended into the Mariana Trench. During the dive, an outer plexiglass layer cracked under pressure. They were pushing the limits of what was physically possible.
But when they reached the bottom, it wasn't empty. They saw movement. Small shrimp-like creatures moving along the sediment. That's proof that even here, in the most extreme conditions on Earth, life persists.
To explore this abyss isn't just to satisfy our curiosity. It's to better understand the fragility and the sheer tenacity of life on Earth. Today, we traveled from sunlit reefs to the deepest trench of the Earth. We saw how weird things can get from just changes in light, pressure, and energy.
And yet, there is still so much more to explore, and surely tons of amazing things to discover. So, what should we talk about next? Let us know in the comments down below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for new videos every week. Thanks for watching. See ya!